This is an extremely well built watch that I've got on the channel today. It's made in Germany, it's very utilitarian, it's stealth and very minimalist. And the thing is built like an absolute tank. It features 500 meters of water resistance, it's got a helium escape valve, it's only 39mm, and that tennis ball yellow lume is the bee's knees on this watch. It's called the Dievas Welcome back, guys. This is the Dievas Phantom. It's a German-made watch, very tactical. In fact, this is a very impressive piece. It's built so well and so strong, and with those specs of 500 meters water resistance, helium escape valve, it's surprising to come in such a small footprint of 39mm and just under 13mm in height. Now, as soon as I saw the watch, it instantly grabbed my attention because it's different. If you haven't already noticed, there's a crown at around 8.15, 8.30, somewhere in there. We've seen crowns on the left-hand side before. This one's relatively low, a very tactical watch. Nothing can actually grab it on this side, so it's designed for a specific purpose and it's built tough as nails. But in saying that, it also leaves me sort of frustrated and almost wanting in certain areas, and I'll explain that. But first and foremost, let's get stuck into its specifications. I'll tell you what we've got here. Now, I measure a case diameter of exactly 39mm. The case height is 12.8mm. We have a lug-to-lug of 46.5 and a lug width of 20mm. Now, the crown is a 5.9mm signed screw-down crown, and it features 500 meters of water resistance, as well as offering a helium escape valve for saturation diving. And the total weight of this watch on this particular strap comes in at exactly 103 grams. Now, this is the leather strap that the watch comes on, and it's built beautifully. It's leather, it's got fantastic stitching, really well reinforced, but the only problem that I found with this, it's a little bit too short. It's actually, the length of this strap is a little bit too short. I find myself being on the last or second last hole. So I've replaced that strap with an Artem strap on this watch just to wear it for the week and see how it fits. Very comfortable, very stealth. And as you can see, the footprint there on my wrist, it's actually a 39mm case, but I measure the diameter of the actual bezel at 41mm. And that's been one of the pluses of this watch. It's been so nice to grab that bezel anywhere because it sticks out and the watch's footprint is still small. Now, if you look at the lugs on this watch, they seem to be protruding, but they're only 46.5mm. And I've got an 18cm wrist, and this is sitting beautifully. As you can see, the height, no brainer, coming in at 12.8mm, and the total comfort at 103 grams has been a no issue all week. Now, just the plain stealth look of this watch has interested me all week. I'm really impressed at what I'm seeing. I love the tonality. There's blacks, but they're different tonalities, they're different tones. So there's a lighter black, more towards grey, pretty much matte everywhere. So it has a very stealthy feel on the wrist. But at the same time, that yellow is just screaming attention and legibility. Now, the movement of the watch is an ETA 2824-2. It features 40 hours power reserve, 25 joules, hacking hand winding, and accuracy wise, I've had this on the time grapher, it's running smoothly. Now, if you notice, the crown is at the 8 o'clock or thereabouts, and being a tactical watch, they've gotten the crown out of the way, so it's a smooth transition on the right hand side of that dial. So for a right-handed person having this on their left hand, it's quite nice. There's nothing for that crown to get caught up in, which is pretty cool. But in saying that, the functionality of it is, I've found it difficult. I need to turn the watch over, being used to using my right hand, unscrew it, pull it out, hack the movement, and then adjust the time. And I've also found myself adjusting the time this way. So it's been a bit of an awkward experience. But the biggest issue I've had in trying to set the time is trying to get an accurate time. Because if you haven't already noticed, that dial, that beautiful matte dial, has no minute markers. It's just got, at 5-minute increments, it's got a Lume plot. That's it. So if I want to get this at 22 minutes past, it's roughly over there. I've got to sort of take a stab in the dark. So what I found myself doing is moving the bezel, getting it all the way around, lining it up with that marker, and now I can see using the bezel as a marker to get this to 22 minutes past, which is there. And then I'd start the movement and I'm 22 minutes past. So that's been a bit of a letdown for me, because being a stickler for, trying to read the time accurately, I'm not a real big fan of things like this, although I do love the look. And the reason I say that, because there was another model that they made, it was called the Shadow, and the Shadow itself was a bigger watch, and it had grey or dark black, or almost black markers, minute markers all the way around. Whether that'd make a difference on this watch being a 39mm, I don't know. But yeah, it's just one of those observations where throughout the week it's been a bit frustrating thinking, is it 23 past, is it 22? I don't know. I'm sort of double guessing sometimes. But move aside from that, if you have a look, there's also a date complication between 4 and 5 o'clock. The window itself is quite a nice size. However, the font I found extremely small. But in saying that, I do like the fact that they've color coded that font to the yellow lume on those hands and indices. Now speaking of that lume is super luminova. It's nice and evenly applied everywhere, even on the bezel, as you can see in the 15-minute increments. It's not the brightest, but it does seem to last all night, which is really good. So the application is even and thick enough for this thing to glow all night. Now looking closer at that dial, if you notice the rehaut has markers at every 5-minute increment. So you've got 5, 10, 15, 20 and so forth all the way around. But they're so subtle, I didn't actually notice them until having the watch on for several days. So there's a few visual hidden surprises that this watch offers whilst wearing it over a prolonged period of time, and that's pretty cool. Now I mentioned about the toughness of this watch, and that steel has got a special treatment on it. It's called a 6 steel finish. You've got a DLC coating, and this particular steel is so tough, even though small dimensions still maintain 500 meters of water resistance, as well as a super tough, pretty much scratch proof and indestructible surface in normal use. I'm not going to kid you guys, I really like this watch. I like the look of it, I like the stance, the presence, everything about how it feels on the wrist is lovely. But like I said at the beginning of the video, it does frustrate me and it does leave me wanting. There's something missing for me. Now getting onto the bezel of this watch, it's a 120 click unidirectional bezel. It has a ceramic insert that is lume filled. And the action on this is, for a better word, tactical, precise, crisp. It's a pleasure, it's an absolute joy on this watch. Listen to this. The sound is good, the feel is good, excellent resistance. And if you look, it lines up spot on. I wouldn't have expected anything less from a watch like this. Looking at the caseback of the watch, as you can see, fairly straightforward. All it features is its specs, no fancy jargon. It's a solid tool. It's designed to be used tactically and offer up strength, and that's exactly what it's doing. Let me get onto the positives and negatives of this watch. One of the obvious ones is the lack of minute markers on that dial. Having to rotate the bezel in the right position to be able to set the time correctly, it's a bit of a nuisance. But would the minute markers suit this watch? I'm not sure. I think having stealthy ones on there would have benefited the watch, but it also might have taken away from the visual appeal of this watch. Second negative I can point out on this watch is that date window. The size seems to be right, but the font, too small. Just a 0.5 millimeter bigger font I think would have benefited this watch. The crown at the 8 o'clock was always going to present a problem for me. I don't mind crowns at the 9. That for me, it's more easier to use, but having crown guards being tucked away in there, it's been a little bit difficult to actually wind, unwind, screw down. I've had to turn the watch over several times to get it to function in a comfortable way. Whether a left-handed person will find that problematic, I don't know, because I'm not left-handed, but just putting it out there. And last negative, or I say negative, just an observation, being a tactical watch, I would have loved to see drilled lugs on this, just to be able to make strap changes a little bit easier. That's it. That's the negatives of this watch. Moving over to the positives of this watch, it looks fantastic. It really does. It's different. It's very, very different. The 500 meters of water resistance, the helium escape valve, so it's a functional tool. That bezel is phenomenal. The feel, the sound, the resistance is very, very nice. The Sapphire Crystals AR seems to have done a great job, and pretty much the only thing that's let this watch down throughout the week has been the strap, not because it's not any good, but the fact that it's just that little bit too short for my wrists. Finally, the price of the watch came in at around 1,248 Australian dollars. Pretty decent if you ask me for what you're getting, because there's a lot of solid watch in here, and if you're into something different, something quirky, something strong, toolish and functional, well, it's right here in my hands, the Dievas Phantom. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this watch. I found it quite an up and down relationship throughout the week. Enjoyed the majority of it, but was frustrated with just a few little quirks that really didn't suit my lifestyle. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you all in the next video.